Welcome back to the channel, Rare Science History, fellow treasure hunters, coin collectors, and lovers of American history. You're tuning into the channel where we dig deep into the hidden value of coins that most people overlook, and today, we've got something truly exciting to talk about. So grab your coin jar, sit back, and get ready to explore the fascinating story of one of America's most iconic coins, the Washington $quarter from the year 1974, with a mint mark. Now, before you start rummaging through your change, let me tell you, this isn't just any quarter. The Washington $quarter from 1974 carries with it more than just 25 cents of spending power. It's a small piece of American legacy, packed with historical significance, beautiful design, and in some rare cases, an absolutely jaw-dropping value that could turn an ordinary day into one you'll never forget. Let's start at the beginning, because to truly appreciate the 1974 Washington $quarter, we need to understand the journey that brought this coin into our hands. Back in the early 1930s, the United States Mint introduced the Washington $quarter to honor the 200th birthday of America's first president, George Washington. His portrait, designed by sculptor John Flanagan, was chosen to replace the standing Liberty quarter. And since 1932, his steadfast profile has remained on the obverse of the quarter, becoming one of the most enduring symbols of American currency. Fast forward to 1974. It was a pivotal year in American history. The country was in the midst of economic uncertainty, political drama, and cultural change. President Richard Nixon was about to resign due to the Watergate scandal, the Vietnam War was drawing to a close, and inflation was beginning to rise. Against this backdrop of turmoil, the U.S. Mint continued its mission of producing coins for everyday commerce, and among them was the 1974 Washington $quarter. Now here's where things get interesting. The 1974 $quarter may look like a standard coin to the untrained eye, but for collectors and experts, certain versions of this coin are highly desirable, especially those that include a mint mark. You see, the U.S. Mint uses mint marks to indicate where a coin was produced. In 1974, quarters were minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Denver are marked with a small d, San Francisco coins carry an S, and Philadelphia coins from that year traditionally bear no mint mark at all. Each of these mint locations produced slightly different versions of the coin, with unique production processes, striking qualities, and, most importantly, rarity levels. And that rarity plays a big role in determining just how much your coin might be worth today. Now, when you pick up a 1974 $quarter, flip it over and take a look at the area on the obverse side, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. That's where you'll find the mint mark. If you see a small d or s, congratulations, you've got a coin that's worth a closer inspection. But let's not forget the reverse side of the coin either. The eagle, wings spread wide, perched atop a bundle of arrows and surrounded by olive branches, is more than just a design, it's a symbol of strength and peace. The words, United States of America, curve along the top, and below the eagle are the words, $quarter. Simple, powerful, patriotic. Now here's the part collectors love. Over the years, some 1974 $quarters have been discovered with unusual characteristics, things like double strikes, off-center errors, die cracks, and even striking anomalies that occurred during production. These minting errors make those particular coins incredibly unique, and sometimes, incredibly valuable. For example, an off-center strike where the design is visibly misaligned can turn a normal $quarter into a prized collectible. A double die error, where the design appears to have been stamped twice in slightly different positions, can fetch a handsome sum on the collector's market. And coins that were accidentally struck on planchets made of the wrong metal? Those are the holy grail for error coin collectors. Now let's talk condition. This is where it gets serious. A 1974 $quarter that's been through decades of wear and tear is going to look dull, scratched, maybe even chipped, and while it may still be interesting, it won't bring in big bucks. But a 1974 $quarter in uncirculated condition? That's another story. Uncirculated coins, especially those that have been graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, are the cream of the crop. Grading measures everything from luster and strike quality to the absence of nicks and blemishes. The highest grades, like MS-65, MS-67, and beyond, can significantly increase the value of a coin, especially if it also happens to have a rare error or comes from a desirable mint. Now imagine for a moment that you found a 1974 Washington quarter with a mint mark. You examine it closely. No visible wear, perfect shine, strong strike, crisp details. Maybe there's even a strange flaw, like a misprint or double die. You decide to send it off to be professionally graded. A few weeks later, you receive the results. The grade is high. The error is confirmed. The rarity is real, and then, you find out just how much this seemingly ordinary coin could be worth. Are you ready? Because now, after this journey through history, design, production, condition, and rarity, we come to the moment of truth. Yes, it's true. In rare cases, a 1974 Washington quarter dollar with a mint mark, in exceptional uncirculated condition and possibly featuring a minting error, has been known to reach an astonishing value of $45,000. That's right. A single quarter. Worth more than a luxury car. Worth more than some college tuitions. Worth more than most people would ever expect from a coin they might casually hand over for a soda. So if you have an old collection of coins at home, or you've inherited a dusty coin jar from a grandparent, don't dismiss those quarters. Especially the ones from 1974. Flip them over, check for the mint mark, and examine the details closely. You just might be holding a piece of American treasure without even knowing it, and who knows, maybe your next trip to the coin shop or your next online auction scroll will reveal a hidden gem that could change your life forever. Today's journey is going to take us back in time, to a coin that looks ordinary on the outside, but could be hiding a secret that makes it worth a fortune. Get ready to dive deep into the mystery, the magic, and the money behind one of the most talked about coins in American numismatics, the Washington quarter dollar from the year 1965, with a mint mark. Now you might be thinking, wait a second, I've seen 1965 quarters before, they're everywhere, right? Well, yes and no. The 1965 Washington quarter is indeed one of the most commonly seen coins in circulation. Millions were produced. But as we'll discover today, not all 1965 quarters are created equal. Some of them, very few of them, are extremely rare. And one specific type, just one particular version of this coin, could be worth a life-changing amount of money. So make sure you watch all the way to the end, because we're going to unravel everything you need to know, and finally reveal how much this unassuming piece of metal might be worth. Let's begin with a little backstory. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932, in honor of the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, the coin featured a left-facing bust of Washington on the obverse, and an eagle with outstretched wings on the reverse. This design became a staple of American currency and remains one of the most recognized coin designs in the world. Now, fast forward to the year 1965. America was in the midst of a cultural revolution. The Vietnam War was escalating, the civil rights movement was changing the landscape of the nation, and the U.S. Mint was facing a coin crisis of its own. That's right, a coin crisis. During the early 1960s, the price of silver skyrocketed. Up until that point, U.S. quarters were composed of 90% silver. But rising silver prices meant that the metal in the coins was worth more than their face value. People began hoarding coins. The result? A massive coin shortage across the country. In response, Congress passed the Coinage Act of 1965, which eliminated silver from quarters and dimes. Starting mid-1965, the Mint began producing quarters made of a copper-nickel-clad composition instead of the traditional 90% silver. Now, here's where things get very interesting. The transition from silver to clad quarters didn't happen overnight. It was a complex process involving multiple mints, dies, and planchets. And somewhere during that chaotic switch, a few rare coins were accidentally struck using leftover 90% silver planchets from 1964. Yes, you heard that right, there are 1965 Washington quarters out there that were mistakenly minted on silver blanks. They look nearly identical to the regular 1965 clad quarters, but they have completely different metallic compositions. These rare silver 1965 quarters are highly sought after by collectors. And that's not all. Some 1965 quarters even have mint marks, despite the fact that official quarters from that year were not supposed to have any. Here's what you need to know. In 1965, the US Mint removed mint marks from coins entirely to discourage coin hoarding. The theory was, if people couldn't tell where a coin was made, they'd stop trying to collect coins from each mint. But mistakes happened. A few coins from that year, extremely rare ones, do have mint marks, either because of planchet mixing, die reuse, or minting errors, and finding one of those? That's the dream, but it doesn't stop there. Some of the 1965 quarters were double-struck. Others were off-center. A few were struck with proof dies. And an incredibly small number were struck on 90% silver planchets with a mint mark, an error so rare that only a handful are known to exist, and when a coin is that rare, when it's a 1 in a million combination of date, metal content, mint mark, and condition, that's when the value skyrockets. But before we get to that magic number, let's talk about how to tell if you're holding a valuable 1965 quarter. First, check the weight. A clad quarter from 1965 weighs approximately 5.67 grams. But a 90% silver quarter weighs about 6.25 grams. That's a significant difference for a trained collector. You can use a precision scale to measure this at home. Second, examine the edges. A clad coin will show a distinct copper-colored edge. But a silver coin will have a uniform silver color all the way through. Third, look closely for any mint marks. Remember, 1965 coins weren't supposed to have any. If you find a clear D or S mint mark on your 1965 quarter, that's a red flag, in the best way possible. Fourth, inspect for striking errors. Is the image doubled? Off-center? Fuzzy or misaligned? These traits can boost the value of a coin tremendously. And finally, condition is key. Coins in uncirculated or mint state condition are worth much more than their worn, circulated counterparts. If your 1965 quarter looks brand new, or better yet, has been professionally graded and sealed, you could be in possession of something truly extraordinary. Now imagine for a moment that you stumble across one of these ultra-rare 1965 Washington quarters, minted on a silver planchet, carrying a mint mark, and in pristine condition. What would that be worth? Are you ready for the answer? Because here it is. In an astonishing turn of events, one of these extremely rare 1965 Washington quarter dollars, with the perfect combination of silver content, a visible mint mark, and exceptional uncirculated condition, was valued in the coin collecting world at a staggering $90,000. That's right, $90,000 for a quarter, the kind of coin that could be sitting in your old collection, rattling around in a jar, passed to you by a relative, or handed to you in change at a grocery store. That's the magic of numismatics, real hidden treasure in plain sight. So, the next time you see a 1965 quarter, don't toss it aside. Don't spend it without a second glance. Examine it. Weigh it. Inspect the edge. Look for the mint mark. You might just be holding something incredible. Today, we're going to dive deep into the surprising story of the 1986 Washington quarter dollar with a mint mark. A coin that many people handle every day without realizing it could be worth thousands, or even tens of thousands, of dollars. Now, stay with me all the way to the end of this video, because you're going to want to hear just how high the value of this coin can climb under the right conditions. And yes, we'll reveal that stunning number at the very end. Let's set the stage. The Washington quarter is no stranger to American hands. First introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of the nation's first president, this iconic coin quickly became a cornerstone of U.S. currency. For decades, the image of George Washington has proudly sat on the obverse side, facing left with a stoic, presidential gaze, etched into American history and into every pocket, purse, and piggy bank. But let's fast forward to 1986, a year of transformation in America. Ronald Reagan was president, the Cold War was still simmering, the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster shocked the world, and personal computers were just beginning to take off in American households. Amid all these societal shifts, the U.S. Mint continued quietly producing coins for circulation. Among those coins was the humble quarter, dated 1986. Now, on the surface, a 1986 quarter might not seem like anything unusual. You've probably seen one. You may have spent one. But what if I told you that some of these coins, specifically the ones with certain mint marks and rare features, could be worth far more than 25 cents? Let's take a closer look. The 1986 Washington quarter was minted at 3 different facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint location produced a different version of the coin, and each left its own signature, the mint mark. If you flip a 1986 quarter and look on the obverse side, just to the right of George Washington's ponytail, you'll spot a small letter. A P means it came from Philadelphia. A D signifies Denver. And an S tells us the coin was minted in San Francisco. But not all mint marks are equal. And not all minting processes went according to plan. Here's where things get fascinating. Most quarters from this era were made from a copper-nickel clad composition. But rare errors happened. Planchets from different metal batches were sometimes used accidentally. Coins were sometimes struck multiple times. Dies got misaligned. Some quarters were even struck on planchets meant for other coins entirely, like dimes or foreign coins. These rare errors created coins that were never meant to exist, and that's exactly why collectors go crazy for them. The 1986 quarter, in its normal form, is common. But when you throw in a minting error, when you discover one that was struck off-center, or one that features a double die on the obverse or reverse, when you find one with an unusual planchet, or a coin that simply shouldn't have passed quality control, that's when things go from ordinary to extraordinary. Take, for example, the San Francisco Mint quarters. These were produced as proof coins, intended for collectors and not for general circulation. But every once in a while, a proof coin somehow escapes into the wild. And if it's in pristine condition, or has a unique feature, it becomes a high-value collectible. Or consider the Denver Mint, known for striking millions of coins with precision and speed. On rare occasions, quarters from this mint display doubled lettering or off-metal strikes, both of which can skyrocket the coin's value. Even Philadelphia, which produces coins without a mint mark for many years, has its own share of mystery. In 1986, Philadelphia quarters do carry a P, and some of them have been found with sharply doubled dies, misaligned strikes, or missing clad layers, making them especially desirable to collectors. And here's a pro tip for anyone watching: you don't need to be a professional numismatist to start looking for these coins. All you need is a good eye, a magnifying glass, and a little knowledge, which is exactly what we're sharing with you right now. So, how do you know if your 1986 quarter is valuable? Let's talk about the signs. First, check the mint mark. Is it clear and bold? That's a good sign. But if it looks unusual, like a doubled D or S, that could indicate a striking error. Next, examine the surfaces under light. Do you see doubling in the lettering or in Washington's profile? Is the edge perfectly round or strangely misshapen? Does the weight seem off? A standard 1986 quarter should weigh about 5.67 grams. If it's heavier or lighter, that could mean it was struck on the wrong type of planchet. Also, pay attention to luster and scratches. A coin in brilliant uncirculated condition, especially if certified and graded by a service like PCGS or NGC, can be worth significantly more than a worn, circulated version. Coins graded MS-65 or higher are especially desirable in the collector world. And then there's the big one, the rare errors that only appear once in a blue moon. These are the coins that slip through the cracks at the US Mint, that make their way into circulation by accident, and end up sitting in someone's kitchen drawer for decades, until one day, they're rediscovered. And when they are, the results can be absolutely incredible. Imagine this scenario. You're going through your childhood coin collection, or maybe just sorting change after a grocery run. You pull out a 1986 quarter. At first glance, it looks normal. But then you notice something odd. The mint mark is doubled. The strike looks off. The surface is flawless. You get it checked. You send it in for grading. And the experts confirm it. You have a rare, mint-marked 1986 quarter with an error that's almost unheard of, and now, it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for. Just how much can a rare, error-struck, mint-marked, pristine 1986 Washington quarter dollar be worth? Are you ready? Because in one extraordinary case, under the right conditions, with the perfect combination of rarity, condition, and collector demand, a 1986 quarter has been valued at a jaw-dropping $97,000. That's right, not 25 cents. Not $10. Not even $1,000. We're talking about $97,000 for a single quarter that, to most people, looks like ordinary change. That's the hidden world of coins. That's the mystery of mint marks. That's the power of rarity. So the next time you're handed a quarter in change, take a second look. You might be holding more than just a coin, you might be holding a secret worth tens of thousands. Today's episode is one you definitely don't want to miss. We're talking about a quarter. Yep, just 25 cents. But not just any quarter. This, my friends, is the incredible story of the 1979 Washington quarter dollar with a mint mark. A coin that could look like any other in your wallet, but under the right conditions, in the right hands, it can be worth more than a brand new luxury car. So don't blink. Don't skip ahead. Because by the time we finish this deep dive, you'll never look at a quarter the same way again. Let's start with the basics, but trust me, things get exciting fast. The Washington quarter has been a fixture of American currency since 1932. That's when it was first introduced, commemorating the 200th birthday of the man who led a revolution and became the first president of the United States. The original design by John Flanagan features Washington's left-facing bust on the obverse, with "Liberty" arched above his head, and "In God We Trust" off to the left. It's a simple, powerful image. And it remained almost unchanged for decades. But what makes the 1979 version of this coin so special isn't just the design, it's what happened behind the scenes at the U.S. Mint during that year. Now, think back to the late 1970s. America was a different place. Gas prices were rising. Inflation was squeezing households. The Cold War was still raging. And amid all of that, the U.S. Mint was hard at work producing billions of coins for commerce. In 1979 alone, the Mint struck hundreds of millions of quarters. These coins were minted at 3 different locations across the United States. You can tell which mint produced your coin by looking for the tiny letter just to the right of Washington's ponytail. A small p means it came from Philadelphia. A D stands for Denver. And if you spot an S, that means it was minted in San Francisco. Now, here's where it gets good: the vast majority of 1979 quarters are common. They've been through vending machines, cash registers, laundry machines, glove boxes, you name it. But some 1979 quarters? Some are rare. Some were struck using proof dies. Some carry mysterious doubling in the letters. Some were minted on the wrong planchets entirely, planchets intended for other coins. And those differences, those rare errors, are what turn a coin from pocket change into serious collector gold. Let's talk about a few of the most interesting types. One of the most well-known varieties among collectors is the doubled die obverse. This is when the coin was accidentally struck by a die that had shifted slightly between impressions, creating a ghosted, doubled look, usually visible in the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." If you're staring at a 1979 quarter right now, and those letters look just a little strange, you might want to grab a magnifying glass. Then we have off-center strikes. These coins look like the design is sliding off the surface, sometimes dramatically so. The more off-center it is, while still showing the date, the higher the value goes. Another anomaly involves clipped planchets, coins that were physically struck on an incomplete blank, so a chunk of the coin looks like it's been bitten off. These coins are rare and highly collectible, but wait, it gets even crazier. Some 1979 quarters have been discovered struck on foreign coin planchets. That means they were accidentally made using metal blanks intended for coins from other countries, giving them unusual color, weight, or thickness. These are especially rare and nearly impossible to counterfeit, which makes them exciting finds at coin shows or auctions. Now let's talk about one of the more mysterious variants, proof quarters with an S mint mark that accidentally slipped into general circulation. Proof coins, as you might know, are made with extra care. They're struck multiple times for a mirror-like finish and intended only for collectors. But every once in a while, one ends up in the hands of the public. If you find a 1979 quarter with an S mint mark and it looks unusually shiny or perfectly detailed, it could be one of these rogue proofs, but here's the twist: mint marks themselves can be flawed. A repunched mint mark, where the D or S was struck more than once in slightly different positions, can make a coin incredibly rare. These aren't always obvious at first glance, but collectors pay big money for these types of die errors. Still with me? Good. Because now we get into what really determines value. Condition: you could have the rarest 1979 quarter in the world, but if it's been scratched, worn down, or cleaned improperly, it won't fetch nearly as much as one in pristine, untouched condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. Once a coin reaches MS or mint state grades, particularly MS 65 and above, its value skyrockets. Even among error coins, the top dollar pieces are those that are uncirculated and professionally graded by PCGS or NGC. So if you find a 1979 quarter that looks unusually flawless, that hasn't seen the wear and tear of circulation, you could be holding something very special. And now, for that all-important question: how much could it be worth? Imagine this. You're at a garage sale, flipping through a tray of old coins. You pick up a 1979 quarter. At first, nothing stands out. But then, under the right light, you notice something: the mint mark is slightly doubled. The coin feels heavy in your hand. The surface gleams like it's never been touched. You decide to send it in for grading. You wait weeks. Then the report comes back: confirmed error, uncirculated, mint mark variant, ultra rare, and suddenly, that 25-cent coin is no longer worth a gumball. It's worth far, far more. So, here's the moment you've been waiting for. There are a few known 1979 Washington quarters, mint-marked, error-struck, uncirculated, and certified, so rare and so unique that they've been valued in the collector world at $67,000. That's right, $67,000. All from a single coin that most people would overlook, spend, or drop into a donation jar without a second thought. And this is why we do what we do. Because behind every coin is a story. Behind every date is a mystery. And behind every mint mark might just be a small fortune waiting to be discovered. So, what are you waiting for? Check your change jars, dig through old collections, ask your grandparents, visit flea markets, and get a good magnifier. You never know what treasure is hiding in plain sight. Today's episode is going to take us back to a year that most people remember for bell-bottom jeans, classic rock, and a nation on the move. But while the world was busy dancing to disco and watching the Watergate hearings unfold, the U.S. Mint was quietly producing something small, shiny, and potentially life-changing. Today, we're zooming in on the United States of America's 1973 Washington quarter dollar with a mint mark. At first glance, it looks like your average, everyday quarter. But as you're about to discover, some of these coins are anything but ordinary. So buckle up, because this is a story of rare errors, mint mysteries, and hidden value. And if you stay with me to the very end, I'll reveal just how much one of these rare 1973 quarters could be worth. You might want to check your coin jar after this one. Let's jump into the history. The Washington quarter first entered circulation in 1932 as a tribute to George Washington's 200th birthday. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, the obverse of the coin features Washington's profile, facing left, with the word Liberty arching over his head and In God We Trust beside him. Over time, the design has become a symbol of American currency, tradition, and patriotism. Now fast forward to 1973. It was the middle of a decade full of change, economic challenges, political scandals, and major shifts in American culture. But through it all, the U.S. Mint continued to produce coins for a growing population and an ever-expanding economy. That year, the Washington quarter was minted at 3 major locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. You can tell which mint struck your quarter by looking just to the right of Washington's ponytail on the obverse side. A small d means it was made in Denver. An S stands for San Francisco. And if there's no letter at all, that's a sign it came from Philadelphia. Now, here's where things get a little bit mysterious, and a whole lot more interesting. While millions of quarters were produced in 1973, only a tiny fraction of them possess the characteristics that make collectors sit up in their chairs. We're talking about rare mint errors, proof coins that slipped into circulation, off-metal strikes, and unexpected combinations of features that weren't supposed to happen, but did. Let's break down some of these rare and valuable versions of the 1973 quarter. First, let's talk mint mark anomalies. Every mint mark is supposed to be clear, consistent, and placed properly. But mistakes happen. Some coins from 1973 show signs of repunched mint marks, meaning the mint letter was struck more than once, slightly off from the first hit. This can cause a visible shadow effect that is prized by collectors. Then there's the case of double die quarters, coins where the image was struck twice due to a misaligned die. This results in slight but noticeable doubling in the letters or numbers, especially in Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date itself. Some examples even show doubling in the eagle's feathers on the reverse side, and let's not forget off-center strikes, where the coin wasn't perfectly aligned with the die. This results in a coin where part of the design is literally missing, off the edge, and can make the coin extremely collectible, depending on the degree of the error. Even more rare? The off-metal planchet errors. These are coins that were struck on blanks meant for other denominations, like nickels or foreign coins. A quarter struck on a smaller or thinner planchet has a different weight, sound, and feel. If you've ever picked up a coin and something just felt off, it's worth a second look. And here's something most people don't know: proof coins with the S mint mark, usually struck in San Francisco for collector sets, were never intended for general circulation. But every now and then, one of those shiny proof coins slips through the cracks and ends up in your change. If you find a 1973 quarter with an S mint mark and it has mirror-like fields and frosted designs, you might be looking at one of those rare escapees, but the condition of the coin is just as important as its features. In the world of coin collecting, condition is everything. A coin that's been circulated, scratched, or cleaned loses value fast. On the other hand, a mint state coin, especially one graded MS 65 or higher, can command staggering prices. These are coins that were never used in everyday transactions, carefully preserved for decades, and kept in pristine condition. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC evaluate coins on a 70-point scale. A 1973 quarter with an error, a rare mint mark, or a unique strike that's been professionally graded and sealed in mint condition becomes not just a coin, but a true collector's gem. And here's a pro tip for those of you watching at home: if you're not sure what you have, take your coin to a local coin dealer, or better yet, send it in for professional grading. You never know what's hiding in your change jar, sock drawer, or coin album. Now, before we get to the jaw-dropping value of one of these rare quarters, let's do a quick recap. We're looking for a 1973 Washington quarter with a clear mint mark, D, S, or rare variations, errors like double dies, off-center strikes, or clipped planchets, off-metal compositions that give the coin a different weight or colora proof quality, S, mint mark coin that somehow ended up in circulation uncirculated, mint condition coins graded MS 65 or higher. If your 1973 quarter matches any of these descriptions, do not spend it. You could be sitting on something incredibly valuable. And now, the moment you've been waiting for: how much could one of these rare 1973 Washington quarter dollars, mint-marked, error-struck, and preserved in stunning condition, actually be worth? In a recent jaw-dropping example, a single 1973 quarter with a rare mint mark error, exceptional condition, and verified collector appeal was valued at a staggering $88,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $88,000 for a coin that millions of people used to toss into parking meters, gumball machines, and soda vending machines without a second thought. So now the question is, what's in your pocket? If you've enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most fascinating and potentially valuable coins in American circulation, go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another episode. We've got plenty more stories, tips, and treasure hunts coming your way, and if you've got a 1973 quarter, or any other coin you're curious about, drop us a comment below. Who knows? Maybe your story will be featured in a future video. Until next time, keep your eyes open, your magnifiers ready, and as always, happy collecting.